going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I picked up another Trailfinder 2. So I've got, I don't know why this seems so exciting to me. I've got my red Hilux in the background. That is my fully built Trailfinder 2. It's 3-linked, 4-linked, and it's pretty well squared away. It needs a little bit of updating, which we're going to do in a later video. And I've got my pretty much bone stock leaf sprung, just a regular RC4wd drive motor, nothing fancy, basic truck with a full length bed. So I needed something kind of in between. So my friend Zach was selling this rig on Facebook, and yeah, got a pretty good deal on it, and it doesn't need a whole lot. We're going to fine tune some stuff, and we're going to detail the body out a little more, paint it, and do some stuff with that. And it is basically, it looks like a Marlin chassis. It's got most of the stuff the Marlins had. It's got the Marlin bed, but it's got quite a bit of aftermarket stuff on it, and the electronics and everything on it are pretty solid. So yeah, we'll take a look at what we've got, and then we'll start going over things that I need to fix. Alright guys, so looking at what we got here, we've got a Mojave 2 body set, maybe a Mojave 1 cab. It's got the new interior. It's got the Marlin short bobbed bed, and interior and stuff's pretty nice. It's got the door panels and all the goodies that go with that. Standard grille, square headlights. We got a flappy antenna. We're gonna repaint the whole body. I really want to keep the stripes. I've never had one that had the stripes, and I love the stripes, and it doesn't make sense. I've never done the stripes, so we're gonna do stripes. It's all leaf sprung. It's got a shackle reversal mod up front. We've got some nice steel pieces that are left bare steel, so they'll rust up a little bit. Move the shackles to the back, hangers in the front. We've got a Holmes Hobby Crawl Master Sport 20 turn, so maybe a little on the speedy side, but I think it'll be alright. We've got a nice servo up front, Savox. This is the SA1230SG. And for our steering servo, we have a SC1268TG. I don't know if that's good. It looks good. It's a nice Savox servo. It's better than a lot of stuff I buy. So this will be my first 2-speed Trailfinder. All the ones I've got, I've pieced together off eBay and just buying bits and pieces and having enough over time to put one together. And I always use the R3 because it's cheaper, and that's the same thing that's in the gelande 2s, and I've had a bunch of them laying around. So excited to experience the 2-speed life. I hear it's not really, you know, it's too fast for anything really, but I don't know, it'd be neat to be able to shift. Here in the center we've got some kind of aftermarket transfer case mount and skid plate. I'll show you the skid plate more in a minute. It looks freaking awesome. It's nice and tucked up and flat. Where else? We've got a Hobby Wing 1080, the quick run. I've never had the 1080. I always bought the cheap 1060. So again, that's better than my electronics. It's got this nice big power button right here. What else? We've got in here, I'm not going to open it right now. It's a 4-channel Spectrum receiver, so I can just bind it with my radio and go. We've got metal body mounts. I'm not sure what those come from. They're a little bit different than the metal ones I have, but it's a nice improvement. Those plastic rods on there always wear out over time. We do just have plastic bumpers and sliders. Nothing fancy there, just the basic box stuff. But it'll work in the meantime till we can either make some or get some of the nice ones. RC4wd makes so much stuff for the Trailfinder 2. That's why it's my favorite platform. There's just, like my red truck, just the basic stuff. I got the fancy front bumper that they don't even make anymore, and I've modified it and stuff, but just the plain single post sliders, nothing fancy. I think I made the bumper on that. I brazed it. But yeah, so I needed an in-between. I've got my box stock truck, I've got my fully linked red truck, so I need something capable that's leaf sprung, more capable than the box stock truck. That truck I used to pull trailers and silly stuff with. It's just a good trail truck. It's not set up for crawling. It's got the big bumper and the trailer hitch in the back. It catches on everything. So I think this will be a good platform. What else? These tires and wheels, I don't know what remember what he said these were. The tires are 4 point... Where'd it go? I have a DOT number on them. That's cool. 4.19 tall. These are a 1.9 wheel. I think he said they were a knockoff version of something. The tires of the wheels were off-brand of a brand name. But yeah, they have a really nice feel to them. And I'm not usually a fan of the 1.9s, but these beadlocks look pretty good on here. They fit the tire size pretty well, so we're just going to rock it. Underneath, you can see that awesome skid plate. I'm sure somebody recognizes that and knows what brand it is. Really cool looking unit. I'm excited to see how that performs versus my 3D printed ones. None of my rigs have the same one on them, I don't think. I think I've got the Bauhaus on one. I've got the RC4wd Delrin one on one. I don't think I've driven that yet, but we just have Yoda 1 axles and stock shocks, stock leaf springs. So we do have one problem we got to overcome before we can get this thing out for a drive. Alright, so I'm going to talk nerdy for a little bit. With the motor flipped, it tilts it on the axis of the transmission and it brings it down. It's great for lower center of gravity, but we have no travel. Our steering arm here is setting on the motor, and I actually put a spacer in that earlier. It was bending the rod end. Probably need to go ahead and replace that rod end. I think it's stripped out a little bit. So yeah, that's not going to work, and I don't see a way around it because my philosophy on the Trailfinder 2, the front end, is to increase the shock movement without increasing the ride height, and we need this to be able to compress. Because right now all we're getting is about, I'll be generous and call it ½ an inch on this side. We're getting a little bit of droop, but we're not getting any compression on the driver's side because of the steering arm. And the easiest way to do that, the stock shocks are fine. They're just too long. They come that way right out of the box. So we have to change out the shock mounts to the gelande 2 shock. Super easy mod. Bolts right in place of it. And it gives you 2 mounting options. And I think, I don't know, we'll just have to see how it sets and how it moves. We may be able to use the bottom hole on this. Let's have to see how long those shocks actually are, because they really don't have any. I mean, they're sitting at about 1/4 inch from bottomed out right now. So I think the only way we're going to achieve that is we're going to have to bring the motor back up, tilt all this bracket up to where it's top level with the shock towers like it comes originally. The only other issue I run into when I do that is the servo horn hits the axle. So you can see here, if we have another ½ inch of compression, that servo horn is going to hit the pumpkin on the axle, and everything's going to start running out of room because we're getting closer to the frame. But I think with the engine out of the way, I think we'll be alright. If not, we can space that off of the servo horn. We can space the servo up and down in the chassis, which I've done on several of my trucks, and that gives us a little bit more clearance for the front end to do what it needs to do. So, as much as I don't want to, I think we're going to have to pull the transmission. That was actually a lot of work. That flipping the motor down, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. Like I said, I've never done that on my trucks. It to me, it causes more problems than good. It was completely binding up our steering, limiting our suspension travel. For moving the engine down an inch, maybe, I don't think it's gonna justify the means there. Plus, had to modify the front servo cross member to clear the can on this. This is a long can, and I didn't even realize it till there at the end. The rear servo cross member was completely chopped. There was a nut shoved in the frame rail on this side, so you could still attach your shock mount. The other side was chopped off just to be a servo mount. Held the servo fine, but I don't know. I had one, luckily. I just swapped it out. I like having all the cross members in there. So I think I got everything back together. I've started swapping out scale hardware because a lot of this stuff had been Loctited and it was giving me a hard time getting it off. I will say my Bauhaus tool is a lot better. The very first one, this just went in there, did absolutely nothing. Put this one in, same size, and it bit, but it wasn't enough to hold on to what was left. So I ended up having to cut it with a Dremel and fight it out with a flathead screwdriver, and that was a pain. But if you remember, I wish I'd have done a good before video. Remember how little movement we were getting? Look at all that movement. We've got so much flex out of a leaf spring truck. I'm pretty excited about how it's working out. Now the front shackle hanger reverse kit is actually doing some work, and it's looking like it's going to be pretty good. Only other issue I'm running into is my drive shaft is getting very close to this transmission. Not too terribly bad. I think it'll be alright. So these shocks don't feel like they have the springs in them at all. They feel like they're greased, and we just got looks like 2 leaves. Yeah, 2 leaves front and rear. Another thing I did, he did mention that this truck was very fast, and it had, this is a 20-turn motor, and it had this tall gear on it. I don't know if I can see what that says. It doesn't say anywhere, but I went down to a smaller gear. That is the gear that comes with the ready-to-run trucks, I believe. All the RC4 drive trucks have a smaller, narrower gear like that. So hopefully we can tune it down a little bit, and if we need speed, we've got top gear, second gear, so we'll just have to see how that plays out. I've got a few different pinions, and maybe we can fine-tune it a little bit. I think I got the servo hooked up right. I don't know. I just had to kind of hook it back up. It is pulling down a little bit. Those mounts are aluminum, but I don't think it has but top holes, so it's kind of bending that plastic servo up. But the main thing we did here, all I did was make room for the suspension to move. The only thing that we did was the longer gelande 2 shock hoops. Night and day difference. Just amazing how much difference that actually makes. I did need to look and see if it had the O-rings on the bottom. It has a rubber O-rings on the leaf springs. That was an old school trick. You can see them down there. It's supposed to give it a little bit more range of motion. Allow the axle to flex some against the leaf. Something they used to do back on the day on converting the old Tamiya bruisers. But yeah, short of doing an electronics check, I need to get to work on the body. Start figuring out what we're going to do with that. I want to get that all done, and then we will do some work on the red Hilux and then get these things out for a battle.